dangerous storm forming off the northwestern Philippine Islands as other systems take shape in the eastern Pacific and Atlantic. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for July 4th. So it's getting busier. Of course, we've had some storms recently and we're back with our tropical weather bulletins. So far, 37 storms have formed around the world and we have 5 areas of interest to be looking at right now, including Tropical Storm Mun off the southeastern part of Japan and other systems that look like they're about to form. In the Atlantic, it's day 34 of hurricane season, and we do have that one area of interest in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico off the coast of Florida. It looks like it could become a tropical cyclone. We're giving it a 50% chance. National Hurricane Center slightly higher at 60%, likely to be weak off the east coast. In the eastern Pacific, Flossie has died off this afternoon, is now a remnant low southeast of Baja California. We do have another area of interest behind that with an 80% chance of development, could become another significant hurricane, although it will be at sea, and a third system behind that next week, which could also form. Western Pacific, Mun is there with winds of 65 miles per hour northeast of the Ogasawara Islands of Japan, but what we're really watching there is that system designated 06, which looks like it could be on the verge of becoming a tropical cyclone and could deliver lots of rainfall to that region. North Indian Ocean looking quiet at this point, although there are some significant thunderstorms there off the Ganges River Delta. Not too much else going on here. And in the southern hemisphere, we've rolled over into a new season now at the beginning of July. Not quite in the season, obviously, but the new names would be used at this point in the southwest Indian Ocean, although it is very quiet, as you would expect at this time of year. Just a few scattered thunderstorms over different parts of the southwest Indian Ocean. And in the Australian region, things looking pretty quiet here as well, although a sheet of cloud there, not too far from the Cocos Keeling Islands. But in general, this area looking very barren indeed. So let's check in on some of our current tropical cyclones. First of all, we have Mun, tropical storm, 65 mile per hour winds, 985 millibars, near 29.5 north, 145.1 east as of 9 a.m. Japan time this July 4th. It is currently 349 kilometers northeast of Mukojima, which is in the Ogasawara island chain, 387 from Ogasawara itself, 596 from Aogashima to its northwest, 841 from Tokyo and 1066 from Osaka. No warnings in effect. For 98W, which is that area of interest off the Philippines, there are Signal 1 warnings in effect for Ilocos Norte and western Babuyan Islands. 35 mile per hour winds, 999 millibars, 19.2 north, 118.8 degrees east. It is currently 216 kilometers northwest of Laoag City, 240 from Vigan, 309 from Apari on the northern tip of the Philippines, 413 from Kaohsiung in Taiwan, and 620 from Hong Kong. The system may stall a little bit near its current location before starting to shift northeastwards through southern Taiwan or the Batanes Islands. Here's latest satellite imagery of Tropical Storm Mun, which is a relatively small in structure in terms of at least its most intense winds and rainfall. Quite exposed on the western and southern flanks there, but the centre of the core is looking pretty good. Blowing up convection and certainly indicating significant winds. In fact, I believe the JWC is currently at 70 miles per hour. I'm not sure it quite looks that good, but it certainly is looking decent and could strengthen a little bit further as it moves further northwards and then possibly northeastwards, then hooking round possibly towards Japan, although the threat at this point still remains fairly low. But blowing up from decent convection inside there. This is what's left of Flossie. Some question marks as to whether it actually is a remnant low yet, because there is still a little bit of convection blowing up, but it is, for pretty much all intents and purposes, finished. Looking towards the west of it there, you can see a massive ocean of dry air ahead of the storm, or what's left of it, and so it really is time up. This is the 98W, this area of interest near the Philippines, which could already be a tropical cyclone. We're not sure yet, no definitive info on that to confirm it, but certainly looking very good on these latest satellite images, really blowing up some really large amounts of convection over a wide area as well. Don't forget, this is the same scale as what we were looking at for Mun just before, so it's much larger, throwing up large amounts of rainfall along the western coast of the Philippines, which is probably going to get some pretty decent, very high in some areas actually, rainfall amounts, and could be a flash flooding issue. Could be the same too for southern Taiwan as well, depending on exactly where the storm goes. Here's the latest radar imagery showing some of those sites, mainly from Taiwan, showing mainly towards the edge of that radar scope what's going on with this system, and possibly moving slightly westwards on those latest frames. This is the Atlantic off the US East Coast, frontal system moving off there, but in those latest frames it's all messed up actually, these satellite images, but you just saw the very end of that there, that very, very loose rotation off the Big Bend region of Florida, which is that area of interest that we're watching. Open Atlantic, which we're looking at here right now, very quiet still at this point, nothing to track. Eastern Pacific is still where it's all at, because there's that next system now starting to take shape, very, very broad at the moment, but it does look like that will become our next tropical cyclone over there. And this is the Western Pacific. You can just about see Mun off the top right hand side, and of course our other area of interest, which has been named by the Philippines locally Bising. And this is now rapid scan actually of Mun, slowly moving northwards, and the Ogasawara island chain towards the southwest of there. Bay of Bengal showing some monsoonal showers in the usual areas really off the coast of Bangladesh and West Bengal, and possibly into Odisha as well. Southwest Indian Ocean looking relatively quiet. There's a big front moving through South Africa right now, and another one on the way actually towards the southwest. Not too much else to talk about. Again, some thunder showers there off the Cocos Keeling Islands, but not too much to talk about there. Some disturbed weather along South Australia as well. South Pacific looking relatively quiet too. There's that front there which could produce an extratropical cyclone briefly in the next few days in the middle of the picture. Sea surface temperatures really climbing in a few spots now off the US East Coast, really getting up there, 28 to 30 degrees Celsius in a few spots off the Outer Banks. Gulf of Mexico also looking very good, off Texas in particular. Highest temperatures around 32 degrees, possibly in one or two spots. Eastern Pacific also looking still very good in that hot spot, the purple patch right now, that's really throwing up a lot of storm activity. Western Pacific, really high temperatures still in the Philippine Sea, especially 32 degrees Celsius in a few spots there, and extending northwards towards the East China Sea through the Okinawa Ryukyu Islands. I forgot my terminology. And the North Indian Ocean cooling down a little bit due to all of the cloud cover in recent weeks. That is pretty typical for this time of year. And compared to average, the Atlantic is well above average in the subtropical zones, although in the tropical region it's near average. Western Pacific, a few really hot spots in the subtropical zones there as well, but again the tropics themselves not as much, only a slight above average anomaly. Eastern Pacific is around normal, it has to be said. And just a note there for the Mediterranean, really off the charts there in the western part of the Mediterranean Sea, which is quite substantial and curious. Eastern Pacific really not throwing up high amounts of oceanic heat content either, so despite all of that, the Eastern Pacific is still performing way ahead of the other basins at this point in time. Western Pacific still has all of that energy unutilized. And in the Atlantic Ocean, quite a bit of that going up for grabs as well. Western Caribbean in particular, into the Southern Gulf, and a little spot there off the US East Coast as well. The Gulf Stream throwing up some decent amounts of oceanic heat content, which could definitely fuel a strong hurricane. So this is the GFS computer model for the next 5 days. Looking out, you can see Mun there becoming a typhoon, moving eastwards, then northwards, and then that second system, 98W, eventually passing through the southern part of Taiwan, and then stalling a fair bit north of the Ishigaki and the Yayama Islands, and you can see they're strengthening as it does so, becoming a typhoon and possibly shooting for major typhoon status as it just straddles that area, slowly moving towards Okinawa. Flossie exits the scene very quickly there in those next few days, and that next system, GFS actually has a delayed formation now, only forming on the 8th there, but it does indeed form. That next system becomes a hurricane in the eastern Pacific, quite a large system too, just circling that Atlantic system as well, struggling to see it on the GFS model there. Doesn't become a tropical storm, but possibly a brief tropical depression off the coast of South Carolina. Looking at precipitation for the next 7 days, primarily from Invest 98W, you can see exactly what is expected there, and really high amounts of rainfall for parts of the western coast of Luzon, up to 20 inches, quite possibly 500 millimeters south of Laoag, but further north as well, a few spots offshore getting high amounts of rainfall too. 150 millimeters expected in the Batanes Islands and the Babuyan Islands and the southern tip of Taiwan, and just slightly less than that in the Miyakijima, I should say. And this is the longer range, day 5 through 10. So a major typhoon, possibly category 3 there, and eventually slamming into the eastern coast of China. And then whatever this is on the right hand side, enormous system trying to become a tropical cyclone. Looks like it does eventually succeed, but just look how large that system is in the first period of this model run. It does eventually get there and could be a large, widespread event for the southern coast of Japan, even though it isn't particularly strong. And in the eastern Pacific, that hurricane continuing to develop. Will it become a major? Possibly. Going to get close. The first foray really into the oceanic part of the eastern Pacific straight away, followed by another one there in the medium range, another hurricane behind that. So that could be our 2 next named storms there in the eastern Pacific, which is showing no signs of relenting after its blockbuster start to this year's hurricane season there. Scan the barcode and that will take you to our merch store where you can take a look at all of our items as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request. And that is a 6-year-old video of me by now. I think we need a new one. And you check out our outlets on our Linktree page. So into the fantasy range, that's day 10 to 16, which has all kinds of shenanigans. Well, this is what happens. So that first system holding on as a tropical storm, actually passing the Hawaiian Islands and actually strengthening again as it continues on straight through towards the western Pacific. The other one behind it, that second system, looks like it weakens quite a lot before it gets there. And then a third system, a small one, that you can just about see in just a second, forming not far from Socorro Islands, a little bit further south, so it does have a bit more longevity there, and possibly becoming another tropical storm. Western Pacific, so that storm moves through Japan, not far from Tokyo actually, and then another system which is just as large, enormous really, and eventually moving into Taiwan, and then that next system behind it. Again, this is very long range, looks like that could be a typhoon, although models will probably flip-flop a whole ton on that one before we get there, but certainly showing signs across the whole Pacific that we are in for what might be a busy July. And briefly, a system there in the South Indian Ocean as well. GFS wants that one to form too. Well, we'll have to wait and see on that. Just a short hop back in time to last year when we had Hurricane Beryl, which was still a Category 4 by this point, moving away from Jamaica and affecting the Cayman Islands, passing very close, still at a very high intensity. We also had the formation of Tropical Storm Aletta, which remained very weak indeed, only getting the 40-mile-per-hour winds. A really dismal start for the Eastern Pacific last year, really turned around in 2025. So 37 storms so far around the world. In the Atlantic, the next name on the list on what has been a pretty boring start to hurricane season is Chantal. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Gil, and in the Central Pacific, the next name is Iona. Moving up to the Western Pacific, we've had 3 now. The next name is Danas. That's possibly not far away. North Indian Ocean, the next name is Shakti still at this point as well. And so we've had a rollover of names in some parts of the Southern Hemisphere, namely the Southwest Indian Ocean. The next name on the list now is Awo. In the Australian region, it's Fina, and in the South Pacific, the next name on the list is Ermil. That's all from tonight's Tropical Weather Bulletin. We hope to be back with a regular service soon, but that's all for now.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.